Today's show is brought to you by Imperial Yeast. You hear us gushing over Imperial Yeast all the time, and that's because their yeast performs for us in every batch that we brew. Imperial Yeast is adored by commercial breweries and home brewers alike. Their pitch-right pouches are jam-packed with over 200 billion fresh yeast cells, guaranteed to deliver flawless, fast fermentations every time. Imperial Yeast strains are grown by a team of pro brewers and home brewers who live to help other brewers learn more and ferment better. Join any recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club and get a free upgrade to premium Imperial Yeast with every recipe kit that ships out to you. Learn more at homebrewhappyhour.com/club and come brew with us.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Best way to clean kegs, how to clean my Wort chiller, and tons of foam when transferring from fermenter to keg. This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 291. Well, hello there, and welcome back to another episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. If you have a question you would like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com, click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or now you can call, leave a voicemail, be Todd's best friend at 325-305-6107. I am your host, Joshua Stubing. Today I'm joined by the Director of Operations at cmbecker.com over there, Mr. James Carlson, as well as the President and Chief Keg Washer and Financier of the Voicemail $25 gift cards, Mr. Todd Burns. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Hello. Hey.
I always wondered, what was the guy? Was it Jimmy Pardo? Who did Saturday Night Live? Saturday Night Live! I always want to do an intro like that. I think his name was, it was Jimmy Pardo or something Pardo. He's since he passed away. The guy who used to do like the Al Gore impressions, and he would do Sean Connery. What was that guy in Celebrity Jeopardy? Who would do Sean Connery? He that guy's the one who then started doing the intros, I believe.
Really?
I didn't
know that.
Yeah, I haven't watched SNL in forever. I think
they got too political. It wasn't even funny.
You know what Lorne Michaels always said? People view like every generation goes, it was funniest best when, and he's like, in my experience, it's when you're in high school that you think it's the funniest. So his theory is like whenever you were in high school is the era you think was the best. Like everyone says that. I watched clips online and I'm like, oh, that's pretty funny. And then I try to watch the full episode. I'm like, oh, I saw what the funny part was of that whole episode. I don't need to watch it. But anyways, enough about Saturday Night Live, guys. I'm back from the beach. I had a great time. Todd, you're looking fly in that Hawaiian shirt. That beer one.
It's got beer on it.
I love that one. You actually,
I like beer.
You bought that.
I like beer.
Oh yeah.
I like beer.
For audio only listeners, they're holding up glasses of beer. I'll segue right into that small talk. So Todd and James have been on a brewing frenzy lately. Specifically, Todd, every time I'm coming up there, Todd's like, "Here, hey, I got this fermenting and this and this." And I think Jonathan has gotten us bit by the pressure fermentation bug.
Oh yeah, and you made the most idiotic comment before the podcast started. I don't know if you caught it, James. You know what he said?
What did I say before?
He said, "You've been brewing too much lately." No. What does that mean?
No. You made the comment. I asked you for details. I go, the listeners are going to want to know the details. And you said, I've been brewing so much lately. I go, yeah, you've been brewing too much, huh?
Too much. Yeah,
you're right. That was stupid. You're right. In hindsight, no, you're right. I can't argue. What a stupid thing to say.
All joking aside, this is my newest beer, and it smells so good. Summer Nights Grapefruit Pale Ale, which I have brewed before, by the way.
The last time you brewed it is when we did the Extract video series, which is available at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour. And we did a video series on it. I think that's the first time you wore that shirt too. What a weird connecting 6 degrees of Todd's beer shirt game we're playing here. But James, I know that's fruity beers or fruit forward beers is not your thing. What do you rate this grapefruit?
Oh, that's exceptionally good. I think I'm with you on Todd with the bittering. It needs a little bit more bittering.
Just a tiny bit more bittering. Yeah.
And then it smells so good. It has like a fruity smell.
So I want to please these guys so much, and I tried so hard to make it too bitter that I think I didn't put quite enough in there. So it's
still very good.
The thing that's really amazing to me is that the original gravity on this was 1.052 and the final gravity was 1.008. So it does not taste that dry though, does it?
Mm-mm. No, it's exceptionally good.
Give us some more.
No, but I mean, I wouldn't mind it taste. I'm just saying it.
Was this a beer?
My mouth perception is not of a super dry beer.
Right.
Todd, was this a beer that give us the fermentation details? What yeast did you use? Was this pressurized? Was it temperature controlled?
It was a Safe L05 and it was just, it was done, it's an ale. So I just brewed it at regular ale temperatures.
So this one wasn't under pressure. It was temperature controlled. No. Okay.
Well, you said, yeah, temperature control. Yeah, it was temperature control, but it wasn't a lager. It was, just like
that's not what temperature. Yeah,
for 70-ish degree. Well, a lot of people don't have to do anything. They just have it in their house when they're doing an ale.
Just room temp.
Right. But okay, but you threw it in. Did you brew that at the barn? I guess is what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Okay, so you threw it in that closet that you have kept at 68 or whatever?
No, I put it in the spike
and the glycol
and just let it sit basically.
So then that's the epitome of temperature controlled. You had it on glycol.
Cold crash it on glycol. Did I have it on glycol in the room? I probably did. Yeah.
I love that.
I don't remember. I've brewed so many beers I can't remember.
I almost said it again. You're brewing too much. No, you're not. You just have
It's a 2-row pale, Munich, white wheat, and then the hops are Citra Mosaic.
I don't believe white wheat was white wheat a part of your original recipe?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I can tell you.
I'm just saying because what a coincidence, because we still have bags and bags of white wheat upstairs. Yeah. We're going to have to do a white wheat special for Trub Club. I haven't done that to y'all yet. I know our Trub Club. And
we've used, you know what? One of my favorite beers, though, is that one that James brewed that's half white wheat and half...
it was a
Pilsner, right?
Yep. 5 ounces of tradition.
Yep. Dude,
that was good.
The body we still have some at my pop's, and the body on it is just phenomenal, right? Remind people,
super simple.
Yeah. You told me, and I was like, you really did 50-50 between Pilsen and white wheat? I just didn't believe it. And the only reason I do is the difference between it and the other German pills that I have on tap of yours is just a little bit breadier. Is the main difference, and not in a bad way. Yeah. It's very good. I can hear some people in our audience screaming, "It's not a Pils" or something. Maybe I don't know.
It's a lager.
To answer your question, that was part of the original recipe, but it doesn't have very much. So it had 28 pounds of pale, 2-row, and only 1.75 pounds of white wheat. And then 2.5 pounds of 60 and 3.25 pounds of Munich
for a 17-gallon batch.
17.5. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll say always context because people will listen and go, how much did he use of 2-row? Yeah. Todd always.
And the boil was done at 15 minutes. I mean, I'm sorry. The hops were added for the bittering at 15 minutes. So that's why it doesn't have a lot of bitter. One thing I might do is I might not necessarily use more hops, but maybe just add them earlier. What do you think, James?
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe do it at an hour. Do them for an hour instead, or do them for 45 minutes. I don't know.
Yeah, you could play around with it. Yeah, absolutely.
So the one you're showing off is so funny because you don't listen when I talk. Before the show, I said I want y'all to talk about the beers you've been doing under pressure. And you're like, go grab a beer right now.
Well, it's the beer I have. I didn't hear you say under pressure.
I did because James, is there no more of the lager that you turned around? You don't have to go get a glass of it, but isn't that on tap?
It's on tap.
Oh yeah,
go get a glass.
Go get a glass of it and show that. And while you're gone,
I want one too.
Absolutely.
While he's gone, Todd. So that one James did on a Friday, and it was under pressure, and I believe it was using. Dry lager yeast, right? It was using 3470.
Yeah.
And it was at just y'all's office temps. What would you guess that those were? 76 in that brew room over the weekend?
Yeah, it was 76, maybe even. Yeah, high 70s because it was hot.
And then
it was hot that weekend.
And I'll let James come confirm. I know he hears this, but he doesn't have the microphone.
And then I'm almost done. My hazy Loki IPA is about done.
Oh,
it's still in the fermenter. I've got to switch. I'd actually need to probably keg it. Well, definitely by this weekend, but I might just go ahead and keg it tonight. I mean, I think it's done it. I'm surprised. I thought it would be done in like 3 days because it's under pressure, but I'm still seeing some activity there. I have not taken a sample.
Now, is that the one that was in your? That was the one in your container that I saw. Is that correct?
Yes, in the shipping container.
Yeah,
I actually turned the heat up in the shipping container. So it's at about 80 degrees.
It was a balmy 80 degrees in there. And you're right. When I came, it was 5 days post brew, or no, pardon me, 4 days post brew. And it was still that Kavite was just going to town.
I got to, while we're waiting while he's back, but I'll tell the story real quick. So I decided to add the dry hops, and I was like, it's just about done fermenting. I'd like to have them in there when it's fermenting just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead because, it kind of throws your whole schedule off in your pressure fermenting because you're used to like, okay, the recipe says I'm going to dry hop at 7 days, or the recipe says I'm going to dry hop at this time, whatever your recipe is. Well, now it's like, when do I dry hop? Because, it takes 3 days to ferment, right?
To finish. Yeah.
So I'm like, when do I dry hop? So I said, well, I'm going to go ahead and dry hop. It's been 3 days and it looks like it's calmed down quite a bit. I took the freaking lid off that thing and it just came alive. So, it started, and I'm like trying to shove the tops down in there, and I get them shoved down in there, and they're in a bag, and I put the top back on, and I have the ring over it, and I'm like, okay, I got the top on. Now I'm gonna screw the ring. So I grab the ring with both hands. Well, when I let go of that thing, that top just went boom and shot up in the air, and beer went everywhere. And I grabbed it again, and I shoved it back down on there. I kind of caught it. And I shoved it back down on there, and I held it down as hard as I could and got the ring started, and I was able to get it on. I probably didn't lose 12 ounces of beer, but it seemed like 12 gallons when it blew up, and it really wasn't that much because I cleaned it up afterwards. But it was lesson learned. Be careful when you're trying to dry hop your pressure beer.
Yeah, no kidding.
I wasn't under pressure. I took all the pressure off before I did that, but it immediately woke up.
All right, so back to James. Hold up your beer for me, or I guess Todd, you can too. Now tell us about this. Is the one that, first off, the taste is phenomenal. It's still so green in regards to new that it hasn't cleared out because you're basically cold crashing it in the keg. But what was grain to glass on that brew day? And I forgot what you used.
7 days.
7 days.
Technically 6 days.
Yeah, right.
I brewed it on a Friday and I kegged it on a Friday.
Yeah, so I kind of like the color of it. Even though it's not clear, to me, it's kind of cool.
Did you use 3470 for that? What was the dry yeast you used?
No, we used a yeast from More Beer, and let me grab it. I'll let you see.
Yeah, or was it that? Was it that? It wasn't that Lallemand.
It's the same. It's the same strain as. It's the same strain as 3470.
Okay.
Yeah, which is, I can't pronounce it. It's in German, but if I was looking at it, I could. But
isn't that what it is?
Weinstefan
or something like that.
So what's? Can you read the name of the strain? I always forget what it's called. It's 3470. I thought it was like
Weinstefan or something like that.
Can you read it, James?
I'm butchering it.
It's on the front there. Oh yeah, get 2 pairs of glasses on and the magnifying glass.
The Weinstefan. Weinstefan.
That's what I said, Todd.
Weinstefan.
So that's the same strain as 3470.
Okay.
Yeah, but it has that German Pilsner flavor. That Pilsner bite.
Oh, dude,
that's so hard to get.
That beer you finished. So it was under pressure. And it was in office temps, which was like in the mid to high 70s, right?
Yeah, and it was simple grain bill. We did 28 pounds of Pilsen malt, 1.5 pounds of Carapils. That's it. 5 ounces of 6 ounces of German tradition. That's it.
You've been loving traditional. It turned out phenomenal. I had, before we left, I was up there Monday and Tuesday, and before we left Monday evening, I may have had a few pours from it. But Todd was encouraging it. It's not like I was sneaking beer.
I just realized when I was grabbing your keg this morning, James, I still have 2 kegs of the lemon drop, and that was also pressure fermented.
Yes, and it's exceptionally good too. Todd makes a really good lemon drop pills.
Yeah, that's been your favorite lately of his. All right, so before we get into the next part of small talk, I'll wrap this up by just saying, y'all are believers of pressure fermentation. It seems like y'all have been.
Oh, absolutely.
I like it. I like it. I mean, I don't know that I would use it for. I don't know that I necessarily would use it for every beer, but I think it's fun to try it with a lot of different styles and then try to work into what I want to use it for.
It does seem to have invigorated the creativity bone in you, Todd. Like you've had a new fervor for brewing that I haven't seen in a while, where you're like every other day, you're like, I'm going to brew this. And to the point where I'm getting upset because I'm like, please don't mess with Trub Club recipe or Trub Club ingredients up there. And you're like, oh, it'll be okay. Da, 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 da. And what can I say? You're underwriting everything, so it's not like I can get too mad at you. But anyway, segue into
Sorry, I apologize for using my grain.
That's what I was going to say. I knew where you're going with it. I knew. But speaking of spunding valves, pressure fermentation, Firmzillas, Anvil, Fermenter King, all that, KegConnection.com has a new section on the website. Todd, you want to talk about that?
So, yeah, we have this new product called Duotite, which everybody's been asking for. So like I usually do on things, I didn't just dip my toe into it. I jumped in the lake on this. So we pretty much are carrying everything that has to do with Duotite. And we've put them into very nice little subcategories, or we will have by tomorrow.
By the time this publishes.
By the time this is published, or Josh will get fired again. And we got lots of descriptions and links, and I think it's really good. Now, I will say this: if you look at it after this podcast, you're going to see all the products that basically that Duotite has. So by sometime next week, we're going to add products where we're putting things together more and making it easier for people. Like, for example, sets of C. M. Becker disconnects already set up with Duotite.
Right.
So we'll be doing some of that and adding quite a bit next week. Have it on next week or the week after, and we're going to continue to grow that section. And we've got quite a bit of inventory on it, and I think hopefully a lot of people have asked for it. Every single item doesn't have a lot of quantity because we don't really 100% know what's going to sell. So be patient with us. If something sells out, we'll get it right back in. But our plan is to carry it, and we have a pretty big section on it.
Yeah, and I'm coming up.
Yeah, and
next
it looks
week.
good. It's on the website.
It is. They're all up. Yeah, prices are right. Inventory's right. The subcategories are up. We're just putting it. By the time people listen to this, they'll be like, "Wow, Josh did what he said he's going to do." Yeah, because I was already 3/4 of the way done by the time the Todd brought it up. So thank God for that.
Hold on, let me see.
Oh gosh. Anyway, okay, I'm like 25% done. Okay, I exaggerated. No, but I'm actually coming up again next week so that we can get some content and photos and stuff. Because we are committed to. One thing that's helped us over the last 16 years as a company is Todd's willingness to be adaptive to the market and what people are doing. And so at first, we've been very transparent on the show. Like, I don't get Duotite. I don't get it, but we're open to trying and to get it.
Absolutely.
Because we said that about pressure fermentation too. Like, I don't get it. I don't get why people do that. And then, we jumped head first into that, and it seems to be going well. So we are going to make some content on it for Keg Connection, and we'll probably end up putting it on youtube.com/homebrew happy hour as well. But we've got, like Todd said, we're committed to trying it, and we'd love your feedback, because one thing that we're good at is taking products and making solutions for sale out of them. And that's what we want to specialize in. And what Todd's talking about is, you're going to use this for this purpose. Well, here is the kit you need to accomplish that. That's kind of our specialty in the realm of draft beer specialists. So I'm excited for it to give it a try. But anyways, all that small talk and stuff aside, I've got a show for us. We've got 3 questions, but before we do the question, it's time for listener feedback. We do have listener feedback from our buddy Nick, who lives just down the road from me in San Antonio.
Hey guys, this is Nick from San Antonio. I was just listening to your episode about shipping beer, and I've mailed quite a bit of beer, so I just had a few more tips Whenever I ship, if they're bottles, get some electrical tape and wrap them around the caps. It just kind of helps in case there's any sort of pressure change that can make those blow. Also, if you don't want the postman to smell leaked beer or anything, I pretty much always throw whatever I'm putting in there into a freezer bag, a Ziploc, and then I'll just kind of wrap that over with some shipping tape. One other trick that works really well, if you happen to have a food service delivery company like Blue Apron or one of those, they generally ship you all your food in a pretty good sized box that has an insulative layer inside. So you can pretty much put all your stuff in there. I mean, it's not going to keep things ice cold, but it provides another layer of protection if you're shipping and you don't care about weight or anything like that. So hope this helps. Keep up the good work.
Nick, thank you for that feedback.
Yeah,
that is
another public service message on how to break the rules.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking.
HomebrewHappyHour.com.
Yeah, and to the new FBI agents tuning in, we appreciate y'all. Or the General Inspector for the United States Postal Service. Here is Nick's full address. It's 120. No, I have never shipped anything illegally. I've sent out live yeast samples a lot, and we've received live yeast samples a lot. Which reminder, put that. I think it's on your couch still. Put that in the fridge, man. I want to. When I'm up there, when I went into the walk-in, I saw all the delicious alt beer that we have from Dusseldorf. That's another thing we're filming next week when I'm up there, James.
It's amazing.
We did not put that in our shipment coming in.
No,
which would be completely against the rules.
No, it just appeared.
It magically appeared.
It just appeared. But yeah, that is good feedback from Nick, because beer trading is a fun component of craft beer and homebrewing. And I think what Nick was saying, and I'll stress it before going on to the first question of the show, is protection. If it's bottles or cans, protect it, not just for the sake of the package getting busted up and the carrier discovering that you're breaking the rules, but so the recipient can get it how it was intended and it not be all dented or broken. Because believe it or not, guys, carriers are rough on packages. You've seen it. Like they can be gentle when you first hand it to them, but then they're just flopping on a truck and they're throwing it. So yeah, the more protection you can put, which is a great plug for our buddy at Crafty Shipping or Crafty Shippers. I'll put it in the show notes, but craftyshipping.com I think is his URL, and he makes fantastic. It's meant for bottles, and you can put cans in them. They're real good. I've used them a ton sending out beer, and I've encouraged people that I send it to, hey, just reuse that when you send back beer. And they're super reusable and built out of recyclable materials and earth sustainable, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, We've got questions for this week, starting with our first one from our buddy Ron from New Jersey.
Hey, Todd, James, and Josh. This is Ron from New Jersey. I'm calling. I have a bunch of kegs I've been using for a couple of years now. Things have gone okay. But I wanted to find out what the best practice was around cleaning the kegs, and specifically around maintenance of the keg posts and the O-rings in them. I never know how much keg lube to use. I don't know if it should be gooped on or if it's super thin. Love a little guidance on that. I also would like to know what the most modern or what the best chemical is to use to clean these things, and if it's okay to let that chemical sit for a while, like a couple weeks after you add it in to, let it soak. So looking for some thoughts on keg maintenance and what's best practice, and I'd appreciate it very much. Love the show, and Josh, I got to say I'm really enjoying your new marketing images. They're way better than they used to be. Thanks.
I've outsourced it to a Malaysian lady. That's why they look better. No, I'm kidding. Who would have thunk after 15 years or so I could get better at my job? But for his question, Todd, this is the most Todd Burns question of any question we could get. So how are you helping Ron out with cleaning and maintaining kegs and components?
I'm supposed to put my glasses on to look like an expert, not take them off, right? So first and foremost, kegging or cleaning kegs is actually fairly easy in my mind, because it's not as, you don't have to be as careful as you do with some materials. A good example, we've been talking about pressure fermenting, and if you read the vessels that they use, the plastic vessels they use for pressure fermenting, they're very specific about don't leave sanitizer in there more than an hour. Don't leave, brewing cleaner in there for more than an hour. Well, with kegs, you're basically dealing with stainless steel parts with a few rubber parts. So they're very. It's you don't have to worry a lot about the cleaning solution. I would completely stay away from bleach because it is steel, or bleach type products. It is steel, and it may be called stainless steel and supposed to be rust proof, but it's not. If you get something that causes rust, you're going to get rust. So my favorite product is Brew Clean, because we worked on that a long time and worked with the person that made the original cleaner and adapted it for cleaning kegs and other stainless steel brewing equipment. So that's all I ever use is Brew Clean. I think you can mix it in different strengths. So if your keg had beer in it and you've cleaned it before and it's not really all that dirty, you don't really need that much. A tablespoon's plenty. You could put a tablespoon in there. I mean, maybe I'll call it a rounded tablespoon. How about that? Which is probably closer to 2 tablespoons, but heaping tablespoon. So put that in there, mix it with as hot of water as will come out of your hose, and always push down on the dip tubes and let on the poppet valves of your post so that the dip tubes both fill up full of cleaning solution. And then I let it sit an hour. I've never let one sit for 2 weeks. I don't think it would hurt anything, but I've never let one sit for 2 weeks before. I usually do it for about an hour, but I've also done a lot of times I'll do it and then leave them overnight, not because there's any strategy to that, but just because I've had too many beers while I was kegging and brewing, and I'm ready to go to bed. And no, I was kind of kidding, but so anyway, I do leave them overnight a lot, and I've probably left them for several days when I was lazy. So never had any issues with that. As far as I think your question about the O-rings is great, particularly, what about poppets and posts and all that stuff? Listen, if it's working, I don't normally mess with it. If I get a new keg or a very used keg, and I can tell that keg has not, I fill the outer O-rings and they disintegrate, and I open up the keg and the lid, the O-ring on the inside is cracked and stuff. Then I might take the posts apart and go ahead and replace the inner O-ring. If I get the keg and the other O-rings are in decent shape and everything's fine, I don't mess with it. Taking all that stuff apart is not really going to help you in any way unless there's an issue. The always keep in mind that the inner O-ring is very, very different from the outer O-ring. I replace my outer keg post O-rings all the time because they're susceptible to UV light, and the disconnect is going up and down on them all the time, and they get a lot of use, and I replace them quite often. The inner ones, I almost never replace. I don't replace them unless there's an issue. So I'm not one of these guys that takes my post off the keg every time and carefully cleans everything. I mean, it's kind of CIP, clean in place. If you're soaking it and you're rinsing it out good, in my opinion, you don't need to do that, because when you get ready to sanitize your keg, you're going to sanitize, you're going to open that up, you're going to sanitize everything. And a lot of those parts you're taking apart and messing with, they don't ever touch the beer. So I don't worry about that. And then let's see, last but not least, the pressure relief valve. I always, when I put the keg back together after I've cleaned it, when I say put it back together, if I did remove all the posts and replace the little O-rings and stuff like that, then I mean literally put it all back together. But normally putting it all back together means putting the lid back on, right? So I put the lid back on, I pressurize it, I take soapy water, and I usually will test to see if it's holding pressure okay. Or if I don't want to mess with the soapy water, I just take some clean water and put it on the outside of the lid, put it on top of the post where it what's the word for that? Where you make a little, pull it up on the post, and if it's leaking, you'll see it. So, I mean, I think kegs in my mind are one of the easiest things to clean. And I have cleaned a lot of them in my life. So that's my advice on it.
You have, and believe it or not, I have too. Not very good, but I have cleaned a bunch in my life. That's what I got hired to do. But
well, I would also add that when those were being used commercially in the field, I don't think they were breaking them down like that when they were cleaning them either. I think they were probably running solution through them, and I agree completely. I used to be one of those guys that used to take it all apart.
That's right.
But when I first started working for Todd, he was like, "Why are you doing that? Put it all together."
I've seen keg washers. Have you ever? I mean, I don't know. Y'all have probably never seen one, but I've been in facilities before where they had a keg washer, and it literally looks like a giant dishwasher. They would just put the kegs in there and just close it up, and it would clean, I don't know, 50 kegs or something at a time. I always called my keg washer Josh.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's what he called me. I've seen keg washers. Yeah, I know. It was me.
No, it's Vilver, not Josh.
It is Vilver now. Oh, no. But hey, before Vilver, there was Josh. And he was not good. He was not good at cleaning. Talking about myself.
I can tell you this right now. Josh has been cleaning kegs for more than 13 years now.
14.
Last week, if I had a keg and I needed it cleaned, and I said, "Hey, Josh, can you clean that keg?" He'd be like this. He'd go, "How do I do that? How do you want me to do that?"
He's not wrong. I did. What was it that you were trying to get me to do, and I was playing dumb until you called me out? It was in the barn. What was it? Was it replacing? It was checking the dip tube. It was switching dip tube. It was switching. So one of the kegs, James, the liquid and the gas were flip. And so he was like, "Oh, just switch those two." And I was immediately like, "I really don't want to do this."
I don't really.
How do you do that again, Todd?
Which dip tube goes on which side?
He stopped what he was doing and he goes, "You can't fool me. You know how to do this. Get in the garage, get the socket, change them." And I was like, he's being firm. Okay. And so I was like, "Yo," and
that's where you go, "Sorry."
Yeah. When I was doing it, I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember now." It was the worst.
Jeez, you can't take a joke.
Yeah. Hey, in regards to the lube, you didn't cover that part. A little goes a long way, right?
Yeah, I don't think about it that much. I mean, I think it's really important to lube your O-rings on the post every time, and your lid O-ring. I use very little on the lid O-ring. I put a daub on my finger, and I know a lot of you are listening to this, but I just kind of move my fingers around and I grab it and I just circle it around my 3 fingers that I have the lube on a few times until it feels like it's sliding well, and I put it back on. On the post ones, then I'll take those same fingers and just rub them around it a couple times, and it's fine. Yeah, I mean, I don't use a whole lot, but I use it. I try to use keg lube every time on the post because you kind of knock it off, you clean it off, and the disconnects come on and off a lot easier if it's lubed.
Well, and again, a little does go a long way. Like if you get an 8-ounce thing of lube, that should last you a long, 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 long time. Because like you said, you're not lubing much at all, and you're not re-lubing until you're reusing the keg, right? There's never a reason why you need to reapply lube while that keg is being actively used, because as long as it's not leaking or something at the lid,
right.
then there's just no reason
to. Need to lead. Yeah, if it's hooked up to disconnects, it's not leaking, you don't need to mess with it.
Exactly, and that's what your overall point was with post and post and inner O-rings is, if there's not a problem, don't worry about it. You don't got to overthink it. Right. So Ron, thank you so much for submitting that question. A great time to remind y'all, if and when we take your voicemail question to 325-305-6107, you do get a $25 gift card to kegconnection.com. Our second one is a text, which gets a $15 gift card, so it's still pretty good. From our buddy Davis, who wrote, "Easy question for you, Josh. Haven't used my Wort chiller in a long time. Haven't brewed in a long time. What's the best way to clean it before using it again?" Todd, you made the comment, kegs are the easiest thing to clean. And I think this is a perfect segue to know Wort chillers might be the easiest thing to clean. If you're only using it for cooling down and it's just water going through it, isn't the cleaning just run water through it and put it in boiling Wort and or water?
I'm guilty of not listening, James. Did he say, was it a counter pressure Wort chiller, or was it the other kind of?
Oh gosh!
The
guy in the text.
That.
Oh, Davis didn't write if it was immersion Wort or I just assumed because I use immersion.
We can
explain both,
and then we'll let James do counter pressure since neither one of us use it. Okay,
perfect.
So immersion, you spray it off with the hose. The one that's if you chill one and it's in a bucket, it doesn't matter at all because nothing ever touches the beer in that one. The one that actually goes in the wort, as soon as I pull it out of the wort, I'm cleaning my big vessel, so I usually just throw it in there and I clean and I fill it full of brew clean and I let it clean all together. If I'm not, I've found that you can just really spray it with a garden hose with a sprayer on there, spray it really good and get all the wort off of there and let it drip dry and it's fine.
Yeah, I was just saying, it's immersion ones. You're right. I made some assumptions. Davis texted me if we're wrong, but James is going to cover the counterflow here in a second. But if it's immersion, that is the easiest piece of equipment for you to get clean and get sanitized.
Just scrub the outside.
Yeah, you just scrub the outside. Exactly. But James, if he was talking about counter, or even if he wasn't talking about a plate chiller, but you could go into that if you wanted to as well. But
let's cover both of them, James. When I say we, I mean you.
Two styles. When we first started brewing all grain in Duster, we used a Blinkman Therminator, which is a plate chiller. Now they're really efficient, super efficient. Basically, it's just stacked plates that water and wort run on opposite sides. The problem with that is if you have any hop or tube go through that, it sometimes can get stopped up in there, and it's hard to get it clean enough to not spoil a batch of beer. So what we did was we would always back flush it, get it and soak it in a boiling water. We had a big bean pot that we used, and I would put it in there, fill it up with water, and I would just let it sit there and stew in hot water all day. And then we would pull it out and we would back flush it. And nearly every time we would get particulates out. And then I would put it back in the pot and I would just let it sit there until it was ready. And when it was ready, we would pull it out, run a little bit of, we would use well water. The well water was kind of cool. We'd run the well water through it to cool it down, and it worked great. And we didn't have any spoiled batches. That was the worst case scenario when you're talking about a plate chiller. Now, the one that we have here is basically a little tube inside of a big tube. And those are a little easier to clean because you don't have the plate stacking that can trap hot particulates or anything like that. So you can just flush it. So what I do with the one that we have here is I'll flush it with hot water until it runs clean after I use it. Now, 15 minutes before the end of the boil, I'll go ahead and connect it, and I'll have it running during the whirlpool in the boil pot and dumping right back into the boil pot. And that will sterilize the chiller. And we've never had any issues with it. And then coincidentally, when I hook it up to cold water, I have it dumping right back into the boil pot with the heat element off. And then sometimes we have to immerse it, put it in cold water with ice. And that will get it to where we need to be. But that's always worked for me with, if it's not a plate chiller and it's a counterflow with a little tube inside a big tube, you can just flush it real good, run it with your pump into the boil pot in the last 15 minutes of the boil when you're doing your whirlpool, and that works fine. But just a good solid rinse in hot water seems to help too.
So obviously I'm a man of convenience, AKA I'm lazy. Immersion chillers have always been, one, the easiest for me to use, and two, the easiest for me to clean. You use all the various chilling options possible under the sun. What is your go-to ideal, that you prefer using? What's your preference?
Well, the one that we used last week, Todd, was the immersion. We had one coil in ice water, and we had the other one inside the boil pot. I'm with you, Todd. I think that worked the quickest.
Yeah, and I think some of it too, James, for you in particular, because you've used both, a lot of it depends on the weather.
Good point.
Yeah, we've got 90-degree plus tap water coming out of the wall because of the heat. The heat this year has been brutal. And if you guys aren't from Texas, you have no clue.
It's miserable.
It's been. We came back from California, first week of May?
Yeah.
And landed, and it was 104 degrees, and I don't think it's let up since. And I looked at the weather this week, the next 14 days, 105, 104.
My electric bill has been great. I've loved it.
There's three main chillers, and right now our option is one of those, right? So
you can't
counterflow chill in Texas right now.
Well,
ain't gonna
or
unless you have super cold well water, it ain't going to work.
Or I hear Jonathan Marut yelling at the screen, or use Kvike and do it under pressure. Or like that. I hear him yelling like, all you have to do is get it down to 100 and then pitch and you're good. Or don't even have to use Kvike if it's under pressure. Use Harvest and make you a pseudo lager in the garage under pressure in 100 degrees.
I have to tell you real quick that when I was brewing last week or the week, whenever I brewed that last batch that's in the pressure ferment a week ago, it was so funny that I was like, oh, I got to get ice, I got to chill this down, blah blah blah, and because I was going to do it at 80, and I wasn't really thinking about it, and I got it down, and I started using the well water to cool it, and I was like, crap, I'm still at 87.
Yeah.
Well, I throw ice in there, and I took my lab thermometer out and put it in there, and the damn thermometer on the system, it wasn't calibrated right, so it was reading way too high. I was already there.
Were
I just
you really?
wasted that ice. I was at 80. I had to stop everything and throw the yeast in.
That's hilarious.
No.
Yeah. That again, you're just saying that to give more precedence for why you do so many readings and don't trust the system. Not just that system. Everything we do. If the Spite CF15 says this one thing, he's like, no, I want to put the thermometer on. I don't want to make sure. Like, you don't trust machines. Like, we pay all this money for equipment.
Well, I mean, the Spike fermenter is a great example. I kept saying, why are we not able to get it down further anymore? And I called James. What was it, Saturday?
Yeah,
last Saturday, and I was like, dude, I just took a temperature reading of the Wort and the chiller, and it's almost 10 degrees colder than what thermometer says. So when I cleaned it this time, I took the thermometer completely out, and I'm going to calibrate it before I put it back in.
You're talking about the inlet thermometer.
The dial thermometer on the Spike.
That's what I meant by inlet. Sorry, I meant.
Yeah, and it has a little. In fact, I've got one right here.
Yeah, it's got a screw on it. So
that's the one I was talking about. Inlet.
So you can either put it in boiling water and adjust it to 212, or you can take it and put ice in a cup, a lot of ice in a little water, and really shake it hard and adjust to 32. Either way.
Okay.
Yeah. Just pack it. Just pack the cup full of ice, as much ice as you can get in it. Top it off with water, and then you want to turn this little screw right here, this little head, till it'll adjust the temperature to 32.
Interesting. And that's how you calibrate a dial thermometer.
Mm-hmm. And if it doesn't have this, then you can actually take the body and the nut, and you can adjust it that way.
A lot of times the nut is that, right? So
yeah.
Interesting. Cool. Yeah. Well, Davis, thank you for submitting the question. I know I, as always, digressed this a little, but if you want to give us more details on what you're talking about, I think we covered it anyway.
Thanks for your question about how to calibrate a thermometer.
Yeah, appreciate it. Well, Todd, I will say though, Todd, thanks for reminding me that my perspective is not the only one, because I was ready to just have a 2-minute answer like, immersion chillers, you just can wash them off and boil them. That's it. I'm the man. But you're like, no, there's multiple ways to chill, you idiot. And there is.
I never said you.
No, but you thought that. I saw it in your eyes. There was a reflection off your glasses to the computer where you typed, you idiot, and everyone saw it. Okay. Taking off the glasses now. Moving on to our third and final question of this week. It's another voicemail. Thank you from our friend Tilden from Colorado.
Hey guys, this is Tilden in beautiful Northwest Colorado. I love the podcast. It truly has made me addicted to brewing again. So really appreciate it. I think I have a good question for you. I too am just trying out pressure fermentation for the first time and have a couple of bugs to work out. But the one problem I had, I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong, is when I was transferring from my 10-gallon Brewzilla with the Trub dump at the bottom to my Pinlock keg, I had a ton of foam coming out of the bleed, the air bleed on the top of the keg lid. I was using that to kind of let the air through as it was transferring, but it just had so much foam and felt like I lost a lot of beer all over the ground because of it. So you guys know what my problem is. I use a 5.5 foot line with the CM Becker quick disconnects from the Brewzilla to the keg. And I did not cold crash in the pressure fermenter. I don't have a fridge big enough at the moment to hold that one. So I don't know if that's the problem. Anyways, love the help. Thanks again. Talk to you later.
Tilden, great question. He was saying Brewzilla. Yeah. I think he was talking about the Fermzilla, the ones we've been using. Just a little bit smaller volume. So, now that we are pressure fermentation experts, I figured we could field this.
Done it one time.
No, James, the whole point of having an internet show is so people think you're an authority. This is what we do for a living. Todd,
I think that he's moving carbonated beer. I think that's probably what it is. Under pressure fermentation, you're going to have carbonation just by the nature of the way it works. And that's, to me, I don't know about you, Todd, it sounds to me like we run into that too.
Since I have twice the experience that you do on this, because I've transferred 2 pressure fermented batches now.
That's right.
To your measly one, right?
Measly,
right. So I think I think you could do a couple of things to cut down on the foam. You're a lot of times when you transfer from a fermenter, it is cold. So you're transferring cold beer. It's a lot easier to transfer cold beer. When it's warm, you don't want to transfer it too fast. So I would. Did he mention what the PSI was that he was transferring?
It is not in the transcription. I don't see it in the transcription.
I would do it at a low PSI. Well, another thing too. Did he tell us how he was transferred into the keg? Which post he was using?
I'd go liquid for sure. I was doing gas.
Yes, yeah.
If you're doing gas, if you're using your gas post, which is possible. That's your problem. It's falling all the way down. You're probably using the liquid, to be fair. So you always want to use the liquid because you're pushing the beer to the bottom of the keg through the dip tube. I would turn the PSI down to maybe, if you're having foaming issues, I would turn it down to maybe 3 PSI, 4 PSI, somewhere in there. And I would do that. And then another trick is, let's say you've got PSI on your fermenter, but you don't have any PSI obviously on the keg because you're leaving the lid open. One of the things that I've had this issue even with cold beer when I get to the top of the keg. One of the things I do a lot of times is I let the pressure build up in the keg, and I slowly pull the relief valve occasionally, but it's building up to where the pressure's equalized, and then I'm pulling it and it's putting more beer in, and then it takes a little longer, but it's going to cause a lot less foam.
Yeah, so it works basically like a counter pressure bottle filler. You're just working it manually on the keg that you're moving into. Yeah, I've done that too. It'll help, especially if you're trying to move carbonated beer into a keg. Leave the pressure valve closed, and every now and then burp it. And that will allow the liquid to continue to rise, but it'll keep the carbonation in the liquid, and it may not want it, because if there's a pressure imbalance, the CO2 is going to immediately want to leave the liquid.
Right.
It's going to go to the lowest, the path of least resistance. And so if that's the whole purpose of, like, commercial breweries, when they're filling kegs and bottles, they do it under pressure, equal pressure. That's also the whole purpose of drafting beer out of a faucet. You want to balance from the keg to the faucet head, and that will eliminate foam. It'll keep the CO2 in the beer where you want it and not out over when I moved that last batch of the pressure fermented beer, I had some foam issues.
So just hypothetically, or not even hypothetically, just realistically, I don't know why I'm just using words today. Is temperature even a factor then in this component of the brew? It is, right? So if it was
if it's cold and moving into a warm vessel, then you're going to have foam like crazy.
Okay, that's what I thought too. That temperature could be a culprit, but y'all don't think that's the main culprit. You think like he's transferring carbonated beer and maybe a little too high a PSI.
Maybe so. Yeah, and especially if it's going into the gas side and falling to the bottom, like Todd said, then you just got a big, huge foam factory.
Because I will say this, and James, I think you had the same experience because you just transferred using that floating dip tube into the kegs, right?
Yep.
I will say this: I did not get. I did mine warm as well, and I did not have a lot of foam in the kegs.
Yeah,
oh, nice. What do you think you did different then? Like,
I probably was using too much
Okay.
too much pressure, and I was trying to move too much liquid
Okay.
you know, in a given volume.
Yeah.
But it did foam pretty bad when I got to about the within 3 or 4 inches of the top of the keg. It was foam. So,
Oh yeah, I mean it was definitely foam at that point. It sounds like he's getting foam way before that, though.
yeah. Just make sure that you're filling from the liquid side. That way, you're filling. It's dumping into a liquid area in the keg and not falling. You know, as long as you're filling from the liquid side, and then keep the pressure valve closed every now and then, burp it, and then slow down your pressure. Turn your pressure down. I think you'll be all right.
And when with anything that's new to your process, it's all learning, right? It's all
absolutely.
You're going to have to dial in your transfer process the same way you dialed in your brewing system. Where, you learn the system as you do it more and more. Where again, as us, the pressure fermentation pros that we are now, we can tell you with confidence that it's a learning process.
It seems like he would have less of a problem because I don't really like this guy that much because it's like 75 degrees where he is right now.
Is it really? You looked it up?
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know where he lives.
It's Northwest Colorado.
Northwest,
so it's
yeah.
gotta be
but
cooler.
it's like 75 degrees.
Yeah.
Oh, his life is so much better than ours, isn't it?
Yeah. If it was southeast, it would be probably the same temps that we're dealing with right now. But
is it that drastic in their state? Is it? South?
It is. Well, I've been to Pueblo, and it didn't. I was like Dumb and Dumber. You know, when they landed, thought they were in Colorado, and I'm like, John Demmer's full of, you know what, man, because it was hot and flat and dry.
Holy
I thought, this is not the Colorado I'd see.
I got to watch that movie.
Yeah, I'm very envious of him right now. So
yeah, Tilden, why do you live there? It must be so nice. Thanks for sending the question and taking $25 from Todd. Thanks. Hey, I like that our listeners now, they know what the name drop. He's like, I am using CM Becker disternets.
I saw that.
I almost wanted to put the trademark on it, and then put it on the screen. CM Becker. No, it is nice. Like Todd said, when we deal with vendors and stuff and we see them switching out stock components with CM Becker, I'm like, because there's a reason. There's a reason that they're doing that. Like, oh yeah, we could ship this. I won't name names, but the duo-tight stuff that they're a vendor shipping out with CM Becker instead of the default brand is.
That was really cool to see. I have to admit.
I'll drop names.
It
was more beer.
It is more beer.
Yeah. They sent us samples, and it was so neat to see one of our products come home.
That's how they ship out. Yeah,
duo-tight connector with the CM Becker disconnect, and I thought that was.
Or when people are
cool.
buying homebrew connection stuff for their spite systems, like, oh, it comes with CM Becker, or they're buying like Grainfather. I can name a bunch of vendors that are.
And you know what? We have the best customers in the business because they know that we can tell everybody they're the best, but we've been to trade shows many times, and everybody will say their opinion. CM Becker makes the best disconnects, and I'm proud of that.
Yeah, exactly. You should be. I'm pretty proud of it too. We need to do more. We actually have potentially a trip coming up for a video like we did with Teddy's Brewhouse on Showcase.
Oh, I can't wait.
We're trying to do more Showcase stuff.
I talked to Sean, and he would tell me it's still sitting at the warehouse on the floor.
No,
so I'm like, get that thing put in.
Yeah, they're still doing that. It's we could drop that name too. It's KC Beer.
KC Beer, fantastic German beer. Fantastic.
German beer brewery in Kansas City. Awesome place.
We fell in love with it, and then when they mentioned that they wanted to do something more German and wanted to look at our tower, the guys in Germany, Stefan bent over backwards designing a tower
great
for
job.
them, and it's going to look so nice in there. We're really proud
and
of it.
And it's V10s on that tower. It does. It's top of the top line. We need to do a showcase video with them. There's a Hofbrau that we should do. I mean, there's a ton of our customers.
Yeah, Hofbrau House Pittsburgh has 30.
Yeah, we need to go to a lot of places and drink German beer and make videos.
Oh, I thought you were going to say in Twin Peaks. We got to go to Twin Peaks because they're customers of ours. I have to tell
I sent y'all a picture the other day.
Up there,
Doesn't that make you proud?
Yeah, that's right. The waitress with the faucet says a tiny little blurb in the background. Yeah, honey, no, the production gear. I have to do this for Todd going to Twin Peaks for lunch. I have to.
Yeah, that's market research.
Market research, babe. They're big customers. But anyways, Tilden, thank you for submitting that question, even though your weather is way better than ours, and we resent you right now. Guys, that's all I have for this week's show. Greatly appreciate y'all's time. I'm actually, like I said earlier, I'm coming up next week from, I think, Tuesday through Friday, and we're going to get a bunch of duo-type content. We're going to get some other content videos and stuff, so I look forward to seeing y'all next week.
Oh, you're bringing your...
I'm bringing my daughters.
Your dog and my dog. And your girls, right?
Yep. Oh, wow. My wife is getting a mini vacation from us. Yes.
Oh, wow. Wow. Well, my wife's very excited about your daughters coming. I am too, actually. I'm
they're gonna
anxious
love it.
to see them enjoy the
They're
pool.
Great kids.
They'll be a lot of fun. We're going to have them all on the podcast.
No. I don't want to inflate their heads too early in their life.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I'll see y'all next week.
Hey, they're not 16 yet.
So. Oh, yeah. They're not.
Take advantage.
I'll see y'all next week, guys.
Have a good one.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you would like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page. Or now you can call in, be Todd's best friend, and leave a voicemail to 325-305-6107. Hey, get a free pack of Imperial yeast along with premium, delicious recipes from us when you join our Chop Club. Go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and come brew with us. On behalf of Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thank you for listening.